Before we get into this episode, I would like to make a quick disclaimer that all of Society Inspired's interviews and the information we share are 100% for learning experience and to hear the different sides of the various issues we discuss. We never endorse nor support violence, and we are committed to promoting peace. I want to create a safe space for learning and comfortable place for people to be able to start to speak. Hope you enjoy. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fourth episode of Society Inspired. My name is Gemma. I'm 14 years old and a Palestinian American teen. I'm super excited to have Kara Mack, creator of Africa in America, as our special guest for episode number 4. Would you like to introduce yourself, tell us your story, and also please share your preferred pronouns?
Preferred pronoun, she, her. Hello, everyone. My name is Kara Mack, and I hate talking about myself. So that's the first thing that you need to know. I simplified my title as just simply a Renaissance Black woman. That means that artistically, I do 50 million different things.
Yep.
If you ask me, I will tell you, but to just go off the top of the brain, it's very difficult. But yeah, Renaissance Black woman.
We love simplicity. Works
Yeah,
perfectly.
that's me. Hello, nice to be here.
Okay, let's just get into it then.
Okay.
I want to start by talking about your brand, Africa in America, that you started in 2014. I listened to Words That Move Me, the interview you did with Dana, and you said that you classified it more as a brand than a resource, correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So your brand, could you explain the reasoning and inspiration behind starting your brand, please?
Years before I actually officially started the brand, and I would actually say like a decade before, I was on a path, be it that I was born and raised in Columbia, South Carolina. I did everything, trained in every style, like American form. So like the Southern Black culture, when you talk about the Charleston and all that, when you talk about jazz, you talk about stepping, the marching band, so majorette style. I come from that culture. Marching band is huge. When you talk about fraternities, sororities, all of the Southern Black culture I was surrounded by, grew up in, and just influenced greatly by it, that by the time I moved to LA, because my father's job had transferred and we actually had to move to LA, and Debbie Allen Dance Academy opened up, and I viewed my first like in studio West African class, I just saw all of the similarities. And it got me going down this rabbit hole, like, oh my God, like this movement I was doing on the marching band, and this movement I see, and I just started to connect the dots within my own self. So I said, okay, from this point on in my life, I just want to study these languages in movement only. The industry wasn't in that direction. No one else cared about going in that. It was just Kara Mack, Kara Mack, Kara Mack. And so as that took me to West Africa, different countries, and me seeing the cultures there, I started to notice that everyone was shocked by the fact that whenever I danced, it was like, how do you know our stuff? Where are you getting this information? And so I started to realize that the people there didn't understand that people defected or even stayed and moved to America since like back in starting in the 1950s. And they are master dance teachers that teach all of these students here in America, all of these West African styles, all of these Afro-Brazilian, Afro-Cuban, Haitian. You got like this whole big community, specifically in America, that do this professionally. And the people there had no idea. So by the time 2014, I was just like, as I began to, get my name out there, and there's so many people that are bringing me now in the industry to do certain things, to bring awareness to certain things, I said, how can I officially create a bridge that brings everyone together here in America and shines a spotlight on what people are doing here, while also letting the diaspora and continental Africans know what's going on here. So that's why I titled it Africa in America.
Wow.
Because so it's like, once again, going back to, I like things simple. It's just like, okay, this is shining a light on professionals and participants in African diasporic music, dance, and culture here in America. Okay, that's what's up. So when I go to that page or I go to that website, you're not just going to get what Kara's doing. You're also going to get what's going on in Chicago, what's going on in New York, what's going on in Los Angeles, Atlanta, like all, it brings it all together because there's so many different performances, so many different, like where, if I'm going to a particular city where I want to take a Afro-Brazilian class, no problem, hit up African America. So that's my goal in like 5 years, to be an official resource that everyone goes to for when they need to take a class or go to an event or any type of thing that's under that umbrella. And so you could be traveling from London and say to yourself, I want to look up African America because I'm going to New York and I want to see what's going down on Saturday in New York. Like that's my long-term goal. So I started to make t-shirts, clothing line, all of that to just push like different terms, like respect the technique and things that catch like people's eye and catch people's attention and things of that nature. So that's one of my most popular shirts. But yeah, that's how it all started. I was just like, okay, how can I connect us all so that we are all aware of what people are doing in these little pockets all over the world?
Yeah. You mentioned African diaspora. Could you explain what that fully means and what it looks like in like the present day? I knew I was like struggling trying to find it. I was like, okay, like this, your website was like the only place I could really find the actual definition for it.
Gotcha.
And I was like listening to your interview, Dan, over and over again. I was like, okay, like break it down, Gemma. Like, I'm like, I need to know this, but it's so hard to find the definition.
It's when it's, don't get me started about Black people and hard to find definitions for stuff. So first and foremost, diaspora, the root of diaspora means like a dispersed people. Okay. So with that word, it could be anybody. So you can even have like a Palestinian diaspora, like where Palestinians are dispersed in different locations. So in terms of like African diaspora, the original, like when everyone says it originally today, it's talking about the peoples that were dispersed due to the transatlantic slave trade. So that is only majority, like 99%, the Western region of Africa. So that's why when even here, your most popular region of Africa, the styles that you will see here will come from the West. Because in terms of the transatlantic slave trade, the Gold Coast was where millions of slaves were dispersed to either North America, South America, or the Caribbeans. That's the diaspora.
Okay.
So the diaspora, specifically the African diaspora, are Black people that are either located in North America, South America, or the Caribbeans.
Okay.
And when I say Caribbeans, I'm talking about all of the countries, including Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, like Bahamas, Virgin Islands, all of those islands, diaspora. So African diaspora, a lot of people today, because I believe, and I'm so mad at myself for forgetting, because he's a representative that opened up the gates in terms of immigration around the late 80s that allowed a lot of West Africans to come around that time, like 1990. He actually worked a lot with Martin Luther King. But then around 1990, you had a second version of the diaspora because you had a lot of West Africans come due to new immigration policies. So now you actually have first generation West Africans or second generation West Africans, and they are now considered the African diaspora. But the original is due to slave trade. Like, who were the Africans that were dispersed? And it's hugely important because it's a lot of people don't look at the fact that it was a lot of Africans that were taken. So let's take, for example, Cuba, the small country of Cuba. Nearly 800,000 Africans were placed in Cuba.
Wow.
So Cuba is 50% Black. Okay. Brazil, over 3 million Africans were sent to Brazil.
Wow.
That's why in Bahia, which Bahia was the port that they shipped the slaves to, and they dispersed from Bahia there. That's why still to this day, Bahia has more Africans than some African countries.
Wow. Huh.
Only 300,000 Africans were placed in North America. And the first Africans were in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yes.
1594. The 1619 that everyone looks at, that the New York Times did, that was the first mass drop off. So that's why the 1619 year in Virginia is like the one that gets all of the light, because that's the first where it's like you have hundreds of Africans. This actually is like they made that official, but the first Africans in a small amount was in Charleston, South Carolina. And when I went to Dakar, Senegal, and I went to Gorée Island, the port in Dakar, Senegal, I looked at the map and it was interesting. I watched the map and it said from Gorée straight to Charleston. So it's like in South Carolinian history, we all knew that the plantation owners were very, 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 very bougie, evilly bougie, and they only wanted certain Africans from a certain area around the Niger River, which is present day like Senegambia, Guinea area. So you're only dealing with a particular ethnic group that's coming to South Carolina because they wanted to cultivate rice. But yeah, every state did that. They were very particular about where their Africans needed to come from in North America. Same thing in South America, same thing in the Caribbean. So when I talk about movement, then people start to understand that because different ethnic groups went to different areas, that's why you have different aesthetics to movement.
Yeah.
So with the Caribbeans, you have mostly Bantu and Yoruba, and their version of African dance is more undulation, more subtle, more in the body. So that's why that created your rumba, your salsa, your samba.
Okay.
The ethnic groups that came to North America, the main ethnic group you're talking about, ethnic group that's under Manding, that's more of the arms and more of the whole body, and what people categorize as African dance is like
I was just gonna say, in the industry, when you go to LA, even I've like watched people, like when I'm going to a class or whatever, and I like look through the window and it's an African class. It's like all like the big arms.
Yeah, big arms. That's only one ethnic group out of the whole, just one ethnic group out of the whole West Side.
Yeah.
Just knock out the continent.
Wow.
Just the West Side, one ethnic group, because it was brought to North America. So that is what created the Charleston, the Black Bottom, all of those movements. It started from West African movements that would come from that particular ethnic group. So yeah, those I can be able to explain all of that, and people see it, and people put, two and two together. But that is technically your African diaspora, the Africans that were dispersed and displaced to either North America, South America, or the Caribbean.
Okay, that's the definition I needed. Wow. Yeah, because the reason I wanted to talk to you especially is because I've just found, as I've done research, whether that's within the campaign or just like out of curiosity, how African culture is so overlooked and misused. I've I've done it mostly in dance research, because I've had teachers be like, no one sees that all our dance styles have some sort of African root in them. Like, it's so important and we just like overlook it. So my next question for you is, why do you think so many people overlook the culture or disrespect the techniques of African culture?
Well, to be completely honest, and everybody will be like, yeah, that's pretty much it. Just racism. I'm sorry to be so blunt. It's just
I
like,
mean, we being yeah.
yeah, it's like I could have this eloquent thing to say. And yes, I will explain like what
Okay.
I mean, but it's like we just have to call a spade a spade. It's like, number one, we are dispersed people, or my ancestors were dispersed people. So here it is in the English or whoever type of European was here at the time that already took over like native land and all that stuff. It's already like a spirit of, yeah, forget what was, this is what is now, and we're running it. So that's the spirit. It's automatically on that. And so when you're automatically on that, and then you say, now we're gonna, even though there are people, I just don't, I want to make this clear. In history, there were always people that were explorers and traveled and went to different places. And I just want to put that as like an asterisk
Yep.
by it. There were always travelers. But
Yep.
once those particular people that was just like, yeah, we're here, decided to steal people on a mass, level, the spirit of it is totally evil and wrong. So anything that people, whoever it was, and it ended up to be West Africans, were brought over to do specifically, it's like, I brought you over to do this specifically, and just do that specifically. Don't grow, don't evolve, don't be creative. And of course, that's impossible because we're all God's children. Sorry.
Yeah.
I want to just go deeper in that. We're all God's children, and God put gifts in every single one of us. And so, yeah, human beings can think that they have like this great capacity to tell you, don't do this, and try to think that they control you, but they can't. It's just not going to happen. So, yes, we evolved. Yes, everything was stolen from us to basically put us in this really, really controlled atmosphere. But we took their instruments and created music styles and did all of this stuff. Like, we're going to continue to be resilient. And so with that, it's like, okay, we have to work really hard to make sure that we suppress it every step of their way.
Yes.
And that's just what I see. And it's just like with those particular people in the original, the original evil, yes, they've passed away. But the spirit of it, if you are patient and meticulous and pass it on to your children and your children's children and your children's children, it's like I always repeat, it's so sad that really bad people understand truths about patience and about passing on, and good people really don't get that yet. But bad people understood, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pass away, but just keep this thing going and make sure that my grandchildren and great grandchildren do it. And that's all that I see. And so now, as we come into this day and age where people are really, 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 really wanting to know, I'm just interested in seeing like what's the next version of trying to suppress, because it's always a version of trying to suppress growth and creativity and resilience, just because it's like, We are classified in a lot of people's brains as being like the invisible people, the dark people, the people that, no one wants to be around, or da 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 da, all these stigmas that are
Yeah.
attached. And I just, I'm happy to say that I have the breath of life to be able to be a part of the small group of people that are trying our best to change that narrative, because that's simply what it is. And it's no way around it. It's just racism.
Okay, that's a simple answer. Since we're on the simple train here, it's just racism. Yeah,
Racism.
I completely see what you're saying, and I completely agree. Um, so other than educating ourselves on African culture and learning to recognize it, how do we start to end this pattern of diaspora?
That's a really good question. Once again, you're gonna hate me for being so simple.
It's all good. We love it.
Unity, unity,
Yeah.
unity, 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 unity. Um, for this reason alone, I studied 8 years of my life. I got a bachelor's in religious studies and a master's in divinity. My whole thing about world religions and
Wow.
connectivity. I wanted to dive deep into like true historical articles, different events that I probably passed over in regular school. But I dived deep and dove deep. And the one thing that I saw is relationship, connection. That's the thing. From the other side, if systems want to divide, they do that. They divide.
Mm,
That is the way
yeah.
that things will not progress. And they've been honestly successful at it.
Oh, yes.
With artists, we have to understand that, how can I say, the differences in us. If one person does dance, if another person does spoken word, if another person does music, if another person simply is a writer, the differences in us creates this polyrhythm.
Yeah.
The polyrhythm is life. Polyrhythm requires everyone to do their part so that the ensemble can sound beautiful. And so this is what I'm teaching to all of my students and anyone who comes across
Mm,
being even around me, is that my life is founded on polyrhythms. Every individual has to understand that. I'll give like a 5-part harmony example. If I'm a choir director and I say I want 5-part harmony and one part is off, I'm not looking at the 4 other parts and saying, oh, you're doing good, you're fine. No, I'm looking at 5-part harmony is off because that one person is off.
yes.
So if everyone looked at themselves artistically as if they are so important to the ensemble, they have to contribute something.
Mm,
And they have to work on contributing that something correctly, then the ensemble would be good. Then
yeah.
everybody would look at themselves as important instead of saying, oh, I'm not really doing much, so I'm not going to contribute anything at all.
Ah, that makes sense.
So that's the game, especially in social media eras. Like, this is the game that everybody has to say, oh, I recognize it, and push it aside.
Mm,
It's all about, ah, what I'm providing is not enough, or what I may say is not enough, or what is the worst thing. So it makes us feel like, oh, if I pull back or do nothing at all, or even repeat the same thing that Susie May is doing.
mm,
Imagine that. Imagine me saying I want 5-part harmony and take out someone being off key. If someone in their harmony part does the same part as the fourth harmony. That's still not the 5-part harmony that I want.
Yeah.
You have to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
I gave you a role that
Everybody.
was different from everybody else.
Yes.
So you, even with someone trying to say, oh, because everybody's going this direction, I'm gonna go with it. No,
Yes.
that's not the way life flows. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my solution with everything. If everybody understood the worth and the power within their own individual selves, and whatever they gave, even if it's 10%, whatever they gave would be enough, then it will be easy to unify, and then it will end all the rest of this bull crap. Because it's actually a
Yeah.
relationship from the ground under with the people.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't have to be this eloquent speaker. If you have an issue with speech, but you're able to convey your words through your arms or through your head or through your hands, that is the way that you speak.
Mm-hmm.
You don't sit and say, oh, why don't I have the gift to do what John has? Let's not anymore worry about what someone else has. And that's what's, again, like their beauties in social media, but that's a deterrent in social media. Everyone is doing the same thing. So it's the technological version of divide and conquer, divide and conquer. So that's my answer. In order to create unity, I won't just say unity and then leave it. So how do we unify? We unify.
So many people want unity, but
Yes.
how do we do it? How do we
Kara,
recognize?
Kara Mack's version is to recognize the power and the beauty within you first.
Yes.
You have to know your own worth to be able to be in relationship with your brother or your sister next to you. You can't unify with anybody unless you do that. So as artists, if you whatever type of art that you do, now you have to understand the power that you have in society. Artists are very insecure about what they contribute to social justice and what they contribute to society. And I keep repeating this: artists are politicians.
Yes.
We move society. So I showed everyone on this podcast on an individual basis, and I'm showing everyone how you unify on a societal basis, where you have artists, economists, anthropologists, any type of study. Don't feel insecure when you're around other people that do other things. Yes, you contribute to society, and you have to always remember that, despite what anybody says. Yes, I could be around a scientist, and a scientist can look at me like, oh, you're wasting your time is fleeting. What do? Art? Oh my God, how is that helping the kid down the street? Yes, people tell me that all the time, but you have to know within your heart and show the research, show examples. I studied, like, I don't want to get so political, but I was like, how interesting it is. I'm reading a book, Miles Davis' autobiography, Harry Belafonte's autobiography, and you see just simply like a government list of people who they watched at a certain period of time, and 50% of them were artists.
Wow.
Because they supported the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
So when Martin Luther King didn't have any money, Harry Belafonte put him in apartments. When Ossie and Ruby D, certain particular activists didn't have any money, or they had to go particular places, Ossie and Ruby D put them up. Aretha just came out, the movie, and you saw how Aretha fought for Angela Davis. You have to, artists are important.
And we don't recognize that. I
We
can say as an
don't.
artist, I haven't even recognized that within myself in like the past year being surrounded when I surrounded myself in activism more, just activism, for example, I was just kind of like, I could use my art in so many different ways in this, but I don't see anybody like around me doing it. Like where is it? Like what do I do? So thank you for saying that and making that clear, because I just don't think, especially artists, we don't get credit at all for what we do. Just bluntly, we don't get credit. And um then we underestimate what we can do ourselves because we don't get the credit we deserve. So
Yeah. And that's the plan. That's the plan, honestly. When you get like so many people telling you what you're not doing, it's like it gets embedded in your brain, and then you start to retreat little by little by little, day by day by day. And it's like, no, don't do that. Actually take the time, like I said, read autobiographies of artists and their lives and their experiences, and get to know the truth from their mouths,
yes,
hand source, instead of going off of like what other people are telling you. I made sure that I read so many different autobiographies of different
yeah,
artists, African American artists, and heard from their experience. Like if you pick up a Miles Davis autobiography, you're basically picking up a book that will share the whole jazz experience. I'm talking about, you will see John Coltrane's life, you will see Ella Fitzgerald's life, you will see all of these people. Like one book will give you a picture of the whole evolution of jazz. So I just, actually tell people right now on this podcast, please read, please, if you do audiobooks, but please get educated on firsthand experiences of artists that are sharing to you literally what's going on.
yeah,
Another book that's very interesting, that I never knew about, with Malcolm X, for example. The Saudi Arabian prince skipped over Washington, D.C. and flew directly into JFK to visit him. Simple things like that.
yep,
And here he is, because I look at speakers as artists, orators as
yes,
artists. Like if you have the gift of words and to
yes,
be able to speak and captivate people, you're an artist to me, because that's not a gift that everyone has.
yeah,
So it's like just different things like that. There's like, hold up, what? And in America was very pissed at it. Like, hold up, this is a prince that
yeah,
went straight to JFK just to say, hey, what's up to Malcolm? Like different things, like the world,
yeah,
everyone was connected at some point. And
yeah,
I will end with something hopeful. That's what I'm very, very hopeful about today, is that because of social media, we are now able to remain connected outside of any cameras or hoopla. We can
yep,
be underground connecting all across this globe, and we are. And so that's what gives me great hope. Like
yes,
that's very exciting for me.
yes. You kind of just mentioned some of it, but my last question for you was, what do you see for the future of African diaspora, and how do you see it changing, and what changes personally do you want to see take place? You did just mention a couple of things, but
I'm very excited, honestly, of about people being inspired to take more classes. I'm seeing a lot of people
nice. Yeah.
taking more classes, taking it seriously, taking the differences seriously, instead of being like, oh, Africa is a monolith and everything is the same and da 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 da. If I do one movement, I'm representing the whole freaking continent. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, that makes no sense.
Uh,
But people are beginning to study, and I'm happy to see that.
yes.
And I'm also happy now that my niche in the industry is to transpose the traditional styles that I know to hip hop and R&B and commercial dance.
Yes.
So I'm interested in seeing like the evolution of what may be new hip hop vernacular.
Oh,
Because
so exciting.
no, that's because you think commercial dance is only what is popular and what the artists are asking for. It's like choreography, what I do, choreography, creative directing. It's a customer service job. We're only here to serve the artist. Whatever the artist wants is what is going to happen. So all of the artists are on this African diasporic wave. So it's like, oh, this is going to be interesting to see the new hip hop movements because I'm doing it so much that it's actually full circle. How interesting that the movements of the West African people when we first came here and now in 2021 becomes the new movement of hip hop.
Nice. Wow. I'm excited. I have so much information circling in my brain right now. I'm just overall excited and stoked about this because you seem so, a lot of times in activism things don't seem as like hopeful at all. Like it's, I mean, it can be very negative.
No, trust
so
me.
it is like very exciting to hear how hopeful you are and you are already making such a change. I love watching all the videos that you post onto Africa and America. So I'm just very excited. I'm very excited.
And you have to remain hopeful. That I just, this is
at the end of the day,
you.
At the end of the day, that's what I try. Yes.
You do more than try. I'm being mama now. Do more than try. Because you don't, the quote that I keep close to my heart, make sure that the wall that you're trying to pull down doesn't fall on you.
For a second, I was like, whoa, that's a lot.
Make sure that the wall that you're, and that basically means what you're combating, make sure that that doesn't kill you inside. It doesn't have to be like where you're taking off this planet for me to use the word kill. It could be killing of the spirit, killing of your desire, killing of your passion. Like you could become a vegetable. Like literally vegetative state where you're here, you're breathing, but it's like, where is my girl? I don't see her. Make sure that the wall that you're trying to put down doesn't fall on you. Don't become bitter. Don't become like, because all of that means that your fight is over and the enemy won. What you're fighting won. Because it's like, all we want to do on the opposite side is to get her from continuing on the path that she's on. How can we stop her? So in activism, you have to know that that's what you're facing. I like to call myself an artivist. You're facing a system that isn't tangible. It's old. Even when you're talking about the Palestinian plight, it's old, thousands of years old. And you have to come with that understanding that I can't win this humanly possible on my own.
Yes.
It has to be me first coming in with the understanding that I have to contribute something and give it to God and let it go. But I have to, with my lifetime, with the life that God has blessed me with, I have to at least contribute something. And now in my life, I have to just figure out what that something is. You're starting off with the something, which is great. Now keep it up. Yes. That's the thing. Because you're gonna have the minefields and the left turn, right, ha. The whole thing is sustenance. How are you gonna sustain it? How are you gonna keep it? Yes. Because you're gonna have there's people that's gonna follow you or has already followed you, and they need to hear this. So when stuff gets hard, how are you gonna sustain it? So make sure the wall that you pull down doesn't fall on you.
Okay. Thank you. I needed that. I honestly needed that talk because like I just get so burnt out sometimes. I'm just like, how do I like try to like keep this?
Trust me, I know. And then I'm
Um,
in the industry where everything's like, hurry up, wait, I don't care about your feelings. Da
yep.
da 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 da
Hustle,
da
hustle,
da.
hustle, hustle. All. Um, so, you did already mention a couple resources. You're just giving us everything. Are there any resources that you would like my followers and I to watch, read, listen to, including the stuff that you already mentioned, and of course, your work that you post?
Just do me a favor and follow Africa in America.
And that
And
will be linked down below.
yes, my website is Africa in America mag, like magazine.com. And I have purpose to do better
Yes.
at putting resources up. I just had this 2020 summer, my first summer reading program, where I put up an author, Richard Wright, Native Son and Black Boy, 2 novels. And I had people all in the States virtually reading together and also even in Uganda. So girls in Uganda are finding out about an African American author that was born in the 1920s that wrote these classics called Native Son and Black. So it's like I will do that more. So I will place more resources and everything. Just follow me. Just send love and energy towards the time that I don't have already. And I will see, even myself, you're not alone. I have to sustain. I have to keep pushing. So yes, I will do better at that. Just follow me and I got you. I got y'all out there.
There we go. The resources are there. My last question for you is, where can my followers find you personally? You did mention Africa and America, but you personally.
Me personally. Now, this is my thing. Don't hate on me. I'm such a private person. So my page is private, but if you guys send a request, I will accept it. My personal Instagram is at Mack Kara, MackKara, and personal Facebook is just simply Kara Mack, and you have to send a request and then I will accept you. Yes, but I'm like, I'm so private. I don't do the whole like extra IG content thing. I'm just a family woman with 3 kids, and with social media, I just like to show that part. Africa and America gets like all of the other stuff, but I just like to show to my friends and everything. So, but for you guys, I got you.
I was just like, maybe I should mention your personal just in case people want to see your life.
Yeah, no problem. For you guys.
Because I remember I was like, I pulled up your page after I listened to the interview. I was like, okay, like I think she would be good. Like let's look. And it was private. And I was like, okay, like I'll just send it anyways. And then I found Africa and America. I was like, oh dope, okay. That must just be like extra.
That's my brand, but yes. I'm like, it's just I have to probably get used to it at some point, but I'm just like, it's just weird for strangers to just look at me with my kids just having.
I mean, it's perfectly fine. I mean, there's a private option for a reason. So
yes. But you guys send me a request. I got you. You can look at my life and enjoy it.
Okay, so thank you so much for taking your time to do this interview. Make sure you go and follow Kara on all social media platforms, and also follow her brand, Africa in America. I couldn't say that enough because I think I've probably said that like 7 times now. But go do it. And make sure to follow our other social media platforms also, so you don't miss out on more interviews and important information. I hope you enjoyed the 4th episode of Society Inspired, and we will see you guys next time.
Yes, Society Inspired in the house.